enjoying being a witnesser of life
Okay.
versus being in the foreground a lot.
And that's an important skill for people to have, to be able to observe
Right.
what is going around in order to make decisions or even to see what's going on.
Yeah. Now, one thing I've realized in the last couple of years is I've had to become more verbal.
Okay.
And that came about when I started having to approach people about my Alzheimer's project, because initially I had to find family caregivers
Okay.
who were willing to be part of my project, and that meant I remember one day I had to go speak at a church one Sunday morning, and I had never spoken in front of large.
I can see that.
But it didn't work. I had to do one at 10, and then another one at 11 o'clock.
Okay.
The one at 10 o'clock, it didn't work. I really lost focus.
Okay.
Now, I was better at the 11 o'clock
Okay.
session, but actually I enjoy doing what we're doing now.
Okay. One of the things the reasons that I do this show is I'm trying to show children everything that they're going to need to be successful. And they need to know that sometimes you're fearful.
Right.
And even in that fear, you still got to step up, you got to suck it up, and you got to do whatever you have to do.
Right, yeah. Yeah, well, I think it's important that you face your fear.
Okay.
Now, there are times when fear becomes so overwhelming that it might actually stop you, but you have to fight against it. I mean, I think part of life likes to challenge human beings, and it's our responsibility as learning beings to somehow learn how to deal with the challenges of life.
Yeah.
And overcoming them.
I just think that that's so critical that we understand that that's part of. For me, I learned the acronym of FEAR, false emotions appearing real.
Right.
One of the things that I always try to ask my guests is about STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. How do you put that in the program for the kids?
Well, the technology for us is multimedia.
Okay.
But we are really, really, really advocates for STEAM.
Okay, which is?
It's putting the arts into that.
Okay, so we got
it's
science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. Okay.
You know, we did a actual project with Dr. Donald Byrd, who was a deceased, musician, and he did a music and math project with the kids. And what he did was he took their phone numbers. We worked with them during the summer, and they took their phone numbers and they created melody from their phone number. And then they did some poetry, and they did a sort of rap, bebop, hip hop, rap about his life. He played with Dizzy and Miles and all of that. And so they took the beat behind that and they put the words together, and it was phenomenal.
And once we show the kids that it's not just rote numbers, that there's something behind it, there's a reason why you do that. I mean, music brings fractions into it. So what was the best advice you received when you decided to become the president and CEO of IDEA?
Well, I wish I had gotten advice to tell me not to go down this road, because there are days when I was like, you have to be crazy.
Okay.
You got to be a little crazy to have taken this step.
Okay.
The arts are always the first thing to go in terms of funding.
Yes.
So you really have to have, you have to be a dancer, an artist. You have to maneuver your way through the process of recreating yourself constantly to convince those people who, may not feel that the arts are that important, to convince them to support you.
Yeah.
I've had to learn, I've had to open my life up in so many different ways that I never realized that I had to do. And that meant, talking to, other people who were, doing similar things, or talking to those artists and talking to business people, or, going to universities, partnering with other groups, making sure that at the same time.
And you have to learn the language.
We have to learn.
You have to
all the
learn
way.
their language, because if you don't speak in their language, they're not going to hear what you're saying.
Not at all.
So we become multicultural. So was this the career that you thought you were going to have as a teen?
No.
What did you think you were going to be when you were a teenager?
A gangbanger. No. I just For most of my life, I just danced to the beat of a different drum, and
Okay.
I've always loved the water. So boats and diving was just a natural progression for me.
So where's your favorite place to go scuba diving?
So far, I like Hawaii, but my best dives have been off of Jersey.
Really?
Yes,
What part of Jersey?
right off of Wildwood, Atlantic City, and all that.
And why were they your best?
Because of the wrecks. They have a lot of good wrecks out there. Now, if you go to North Carolina is what they call the graveyard of the North Atlantic because of so many World War II wrecks.
Okay.
However, Jersey is not period wrecks. You get something from every different type of realm.
So you can have anything from the 1600s to the
All the way.
1900s
Yeah.
and go through.
And there's so many different things you can do down there. You can dig for things. You can spearfish.
Okay.
You know, you can lobster hunt, clams. I mean, whatever's down there, you can go for.
Okay. I know that you have your high school diploma. Did your education stop after you graduated from high school?
No. I went on to General Motors Institute for Mechanical Engineering and Electronics.
Okay, so you're a certified mechanic.
Yeah.
And your day
Mechanical
job?
engineering.
And your day job
Yes.
is?
I am a master technician for a company called Neopost.
Doing?
I service all kinds of electronic equipment and electromechanical equipment.
Okay. One of the things, again, talking about youth, I always ask our guests about their life skills. Life skills are the things that have helped you get through life, like communication, conflict management. So what life skills have helped you through these 3 different types of things that you do?
Patience, being patient with people, you know, and having an understanding of just because you're different doesn't mean that you're different.
And that's important for our kids to know because we've got so many kids that can't get along, and I think just that little bit of patience and getting to know that other person would be a lot to help resolve some of the issues that they face.
And the conflicts of today, yes.
Yeah, and it's a lifetime skill. I mean,
Yes.
once you get it, it's a lifetime. One of the things that I discovered about you is that you've been named Top Doc by U.S. World News and Philadelphia Top Doc. How did that happen, and what does it mean to you to be Top Doc?
Well, it meant a lot to be named Top Doc, especially here in Philadelphia, because how that's done is you're kind of graded and chosen by your peers.
Okay.
So other doctors in Philadelphia, not just in your specialty, can nominate you for that.
How
honor.
long of a process does that take for you to do that?
They do it every year.
Okay.
So it's a yearly event.
Okay. One of the things that I try to impress on our youth and young adults is the fact that they have to have the ability to get along with others. So the fact that you've been chosen by your peers shows that you're getting along with them. On your organization's website, you're described as a boundary spanner. What does that mean?
I've had an opportunity over the years in my experiences to function in various capacities, working in the community with the residents in the community, developing programs. But I've also had the opportunity to be in the boardroom working with the CEOs, et cetera. So as a result of that, I have had, doing the work that we do, I am able to connect dots for programs and for the benefit of our organization.
One of the things that I like about your program is the fact that you include young males. A lot of the programs are geared to the female when they want to stop pregnancies, but your program includes males along with the females. Why was that so important?
Well, it takes 2. So young men need to have the same education about human sexuality and reproductive health as young women do.
Okay.
They need to be able to make the decisions about their futures and the kinds of behaviors and what they want to do with their lives. So that's the major reason that we've engaged both males and females in the project.
That I've seen, not just for my own self, but in talking with other women, when we start talking about teens and contraceptives, everybody clams down. Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to think about their baby having sex. And the reality is not only they're having sex, they're bringing home lots of children. So what can we talk to parents? How can we talk to parents to get them to be more open to the fact that their teens need prevention methods?
I think we need to set up opportunities for parents to talk, have conversations, not be talked to, but have parents talk talk among themselves so they can begin to get the correct information and find ways to introduce the conversation, whether it's from a TV program, a book, an article, or something of that sort.
Well, it was interesting. We participated in a town hall with teens through Access Matters, and the parents and the children, the youth, boys and girls, teens, were in separate locations. We all came back together, and basically the teens were saying, our parents do not talk to us. We need more information. We want them to talk to us. But as she was saying, though, there is a need for parents to become comfortable with having the conversation. And I think you're going to be doing some work in that area, and I'm really excited about that opportunity.
And Dr. Bolton, since you see them after they've gotten pregnant.
Well, I do see them after they've gotten pregnant, but not anymore. But one of the biggest misconceptions was that if you gave a teen birth control, they were going to have more sex, and that was proven wrong many, many years ago. But I think I agree, if we can have the parents come in, and I bring the parents in the room every visit, and I explain to them that they're here to be a support person and allow them to say their piece, and then they exit.
Okay.
Then I talk to the teen, and then once we're done, we bring the parent back in, and I usually can gauge from the teen what her concerns are, and she already knows what mom's concerns are, and then we can usually diffuse it.
I mean, as a parent, I can remember panicking when I thought that my child was, getting to that stage, and I can remember specifically, we went to a conference, and one of the questions was, can you talk to your mother about oral sex? And I'm saying, oh yeah, my daughter can talk to me about oral sex. And they said, no, can you talk to your mother about oral sex? I said, are you out of your mind? You think I'm on a kamikaze message? Because we don't talk about these issues, and they're important for us to be able to talk to them and get comfortable with them in order for us to help our children. Because when they clam up, that's it, and they're going to go to somebody else and get the wrong information. When you're doing this, when you're doing the entrepreneurship, what skills did you have to learn besides being the plumber and air conditioning guy? What did you have to learn about owning your own business?
That's the really big one. You have to learn to manage people, manage personalities, do what you say you're going to do. You have to learn how to be able to do that, and learn how to say no. One of my biggest success was learning to say no. And people say, well, what do you mean? If you know you're not qualified to do something, or it's something that's out of your realm of expertise, there's no sin in saying, no, I can't do that, but I have someone to assist me. I use subcontractors. I'm not a sheet metal mechanic, but it's part of HVAC. So what I do is I get professionals to make me shine and allow me to work with them when we have a larger project to do. So you get a good product at the end, instead of me doing a sheet metal kind of funny looking and say, what is that? So that's what you learn. You learn how to say no, and also how to network with people. Networking is so crucial and important.
That's an important part that I try to do in this show, because so many of our kids are seeing everybody at each other, through the different variety of reality shows that are on there, and everybody's just at each other. And I'm trying to help them to understand these are people that you may need in your life. Just
being in the trades, people consider me successful. So what I do is strive not to go backward or to let them down. I always want to encourage. I want them to see what I think a man should be. I want them to see what I think an African American man should display. And sometimes it has a lot to do with character and not money. We're in a society in today, whatever we do as a living, it has to be about money. And what I believe is that I have become a professional in a trade that pays well, but it's something that the skills I have, no one can take away from me. And as the skills constantly, as things constantly change, my skills have to change. I didn't want to learn how to use a computer. I was afraid of that. Over the years, I'm the technology immigrant. I become so comfortable with The cell phone, even my cell phone, I can do as much on that as I can do my computer. You have to learn to change and grow with society and with what the need of the public is.
When did your love affair with Black history begin?
As a child, you know, we learned that again at home, at school, and church.
Okay.
You know, it was just embedded in us. I mean, it was just natural, a part of growing up.
So when did you decide to preserve the house?
Well, it was after we were at Community Education Center after I retired from the library. We were like in 200, the biggest room.
Okay.
That was our office in the basement, about 250 square feet. So we discovered through Tyree Johnson, who's the editor of the West Side Weekly,
Okay.
that the Paul Robeson house was for sale. We had no money to buy a house, but we never let that stop us, right? So we investigated, researched what was going on, and we discovered there were some organizations that did have money, and they were interested in purchasing the house, but it was meant to be that we did get the home because Paul Robeson's philosophy is to use the arts as a tool for social change. It dovetailed with our philosophy, and that's, you know, our whole focus is to use arts as a tool for social change. So when we discovered the house was available, we did a marketing survey with the Wharton School and discovered that people, not only in Philadelphia, but surrounding areas would want to come to the house, would support the house by having their meetings here.
What would you say to a young person today to help them develop the skills of learning how to work well with others?
First, learn how to talk to people. Put the computer and the smartphone aside for a while.
Yes.
But it's all designed to keep us from socializing.
Yes.
Okay? Once we learn why, you know, why we're in this, you know, we can navigate around it and get the best parts out of what's presented to us.
Okay.
And it's our onus as adults and as providers for the arts to ensure these children an opportunity to not to get lost in the sauce.
When did your love of Black history begin?
Well, I've always loved Black history. You know, I went to a Catholic school, and they did not teach that. Okay, but I had gotten involved with a young woman who was a junior teacher at the Catholic school, Our Lady of Victory, and she said, "You know, I like something you like."
No.
And I said, "Well, what is that?" She said, "I want to know about African American history." So her and I used to go to the library. And we would write all kinds of things and read all kinds of things about history that I didn't know. Okay. So that's that's my young days.
Okay.
Okay. So when coming to Belmont Mansion, I think all that brought me out. And I began to think about our history and in fact about slavery more so than anything else. Okay. My family were not slaves. Okay. My great-grandmother, she was from Haiti. Okay. My mother and father were not slaves. They lived in Charleston, South Carolina, which I had been there many, many times and saw the slave block and all
Were
that.
they?
They were
They were never enslaved.
never enslaved.
So your family has a history that's unusual for many of us.
Yes.
Of having blacks in that time, but not being slaves themselves.
Absolutely. And that's also in the historic archives of the city.
So what advice would you give to parents to help them develop this muscle of tenacity in their children?
Don't give up. Do not give up, and let nobody tell you no.
Okay.
Okay.
Because too many times everybody's, you hear a no and everybody just goes to the
Right,
wayside.
right,
So
right.
we need to understand that it's important to keep going.
Oh yeah, and if one thing doesn't work, try something else. All
When
right.
one door shuts, as the old folks used to tell us,
Exactly right.
another door opens.
True saying.
Okay. As the new head, what are your visions and hopes for Belmont Mansion?
Well, I would say the primary vision is to create a platform that takes the work that Audrey Johnson Thornton has created here and to preserve that legacy so that out of this framework, we can build avenues to reach more women's organizations, which is a vital core part of the organization, that we can address the needs of our community of children and families and bring them closer to understanding their history, bring them closer to becoming empowered by that history, and hopefully participate in creating change, because that's what we must do with our organizations that are positioned to tell the history that has been untold.
Well, just running around in the mansion, I know we're going to have to come back and have you on as a guest. Probably won't be for this year, but I definitely have to come back so we can take a walk through the mansion.
We'll do that. I'll be happy to.
It's interesting because one of the things that socializing does for you
Yes.
is being in the pool room.
Yes.
As opposed to these kids playing computer games, there's very little social interaction going on as opposed to playing at the pool table.
That's a great statement,
Yeah.
because it is true. I mean, we had to occupy ourselves with things outside of ourselves, not, not to be introverted in a video game.
Okay. One of the things I wanted to talk to you is the fact that you're trying to get a patent for a billiards game.
Yes.
What has that process been like for you getting a patent?
It's long.
Okay.
It's a long process.
Okay.
Because with the patent office, you can submit your inventions and you have to wait for their approvals. Meanwhile, the patent is pending, and you may get an unfavorable judgment.
Okay.
And they do a great job of explaining what exactly they're looking for.
Okay.
So you either make those type of adjustments or you find another avenue.
And what's the value of having a game patent?
Well, it protects you from, for one, it protects you from any type of infringement on your game.
Okay.
And number two, it also lets you know that was this, when you do a patent search, it lets you know what else is out there that's similar, which is great.
Okay.
And then, you start seeing other people's ideas and you're like, wow, that's pretty cool, or that was different. So it lets you know that, you're in a, you're in the process,
Okay.
you have something of value, and you want to protect yourself from it.
So why did you start Daddy U?
I would love to say that I started it out of to change the world. I started because I was pissed. Like, I was really upset.
At what?
At treatment. I was upset about the difference in gender when you have a child. I felt like I was pushed to the side. I felt like I was ostracized.
Were you in the delivery room?
I was absolutely in the delivery room.
Okay.
I was in the delivery room, and I was coming from work, and I would stay the night in the hospital. Then I would go back to work and stay the night in the hospital.
Okay.
What happened was she ended up having a cesarean.
Okay.
But during the time when she was in the hospital, people were giving her a lot of instruction. But the times that I was there, I was given no instruction. So she had a cesarean, and when she got home, she was a little incapacitated, out of it.
Okay.
And I was stuck with an infant that no one taught me anything about.
Okay. Lacey, what made you decide to study film, especially at New York University?
Let's see. So I knew that media was powerful. I studied art all my life. I went to theater school, and I wanted to kind of really create art, and art that made a difference. So from high school, I was a theater major, and then I wanted to major in film because I wanted to get behind the camera and create stories. But then when I got out of school, I recognized the power of media on young people based on my studies at NYU. And I created a company that was really about kind of creating another lifestyle, or helping young women and women create another lifestyle outside of the effects of media.
Well, one of the things that I'm trying to get through to parents is that there's consequences to their child's behavior, and a lot of times they're being so protective. They'll go to school and argue with the teacher because the child didn't do the book report, and they want the teacher to give their child a good grade when they haven't done it. So what do you tell parents to help them to understand that they need to teach their children about consequences now while they're young?
And it's funny that you mentioned that, because when I was young, I remember whatever the teacher said was gold. And
those were the days.
Those were the days. I better not call a teacher, an adult, a liar and say that that's not true and I didn't do it. My mother, my father believed that if the teacher called home or called them to the school, that I did whatever they said.
Okay.
But nowadays, we kind of live in a society where you can't chastise anyone, you
Yeah.
can't correct anyone.
Yeah.
I think we're doing our children a disservice, because we're crippling them. We're not preparing them for the real world. And that's why they aren't able to make critical decisions. That's why once they do either age out of school or graduate, they aren't able to take care of families in the community, still live with mom and they're 40 years old. They can't have a steady relationship. They can't hold down a job for more than 2 or 3 months because we crippled them.
Yes.
We crippled them. We didn't give them the tools necessary to be independent leaders and fathers and caretakers of the community. And we start to see the residual effects of that now just from some of the activities in the community.
Yeah, I mean, I'm writing a blog right now that says we're cheating our children.
We are.
Because when we don't give them the consequences, the world will give it to them.
Right. And the world's consequences are going to be much more severe.
So much more severe. I know for myself, I've done interviews with youth and I've asked them, what is it you want from parents? And the number one thing they said is, listen to us, don't yell till you get all of the facts, and believe that you did a good job. In other words, you've given me the training that I need. Let me do that, but let me talk to you at the same time. So how do we close that communications gap?
We have to start having awkward, uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah, but I think that definitely lends to emotional maturity within the parent. I think a lot of, even when I speak to when I think about my father, he didn't really know how to have an awkward conversation with me. So certain things, end up going by him because he didn't know how to communicate. So I think it's important that, Daddy University exists and Frontline Daddy exists because it's about helping people have communication skills to be able to say, things that are awkward and difficult, as opposed to throwing up their hands and walking away or shutting down or using anger as the way to cover up the lack of the insecurity. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's really about developing the emotional maturity to communicate.
And also the redundancy of it. Just because it's awkward the first time, continue it. There are parents who had a conversation, it doesn't go well, and they completely stop. Just like learning how to dance, you step on somebody's toes. It's awkward at first, but keep talking about SEX, keep talking about school, keep talking about what you want to be, and eventually you'll be gliding around like Fred Astaire.
Okay, Ruben?
I was going to say, I think that one of the challenges for parents of that non-millennial generation, people just don't know what they don't know. And I was raised a certain way, and we're going to do it this way.
Right.
I don't care what you say.
Right.
And that is not effective parenting. And it's not, throw stones at any parent, but that's not effective. But they don't know any other way.
Right.
And they don't know any different. So it's not like they're bad parents. It's not like they're bad people.
Right.
They just don't know another way.
How do I get you to understand we cannot afford for you to waste any more time? I address you as an elder to our youth. You have much work to do. We need you to finish what we started to strengthen our communities. We have worked, and some things have improved. We need you to complete the other tasks we could not start nor finish. We need your youth, your strength to take up the battle. There is so much work to be done. We have slid backwards because we allowed you to believe that self was more important than community, allowing self-hatred to rule. We sold our souls, our pride, our strength. We allowed you to portray us as bestial, as less than human. We allowed you to believe that those images of us were the only ones. There is much work to complete the healing that must take place. Millions have worked on problems of discrimination based on race, sex, gender, or the lack of money. We have tried and we have worked, but there is more work to do. So we need you to get busy while we are still here to help you. We cannot afford for you to waste any more time.